I stepped in thinking I was Jackson Whitmore, CEO, polished, distant. But today, nothing of that remained. My name erased, my suit gone, replaced by a grubby safety jacket, a false beard hiding every trace of who I used to be. They know me now only as Jack, just another disposable laborer. The first box I lift is heavier than expectation, slipping through my trembling fingers. It falls. A voice cuts through the clang. "Useless!" Laughter bursts around me, sharp, cruel. It cuts deeper than the box's weight. My chest rises with anger. I clench my jaw, swallow it down. But through the noise I see him, a figure bent over the line, shoulders stooped, hands cracked like old bark. He works without complaint, quietly, as if his strength were part of the floor itself. That image burns into me. His dignity, untouched by insult. His endurance, quiet and unbroken. At that moment, I don't realize how much he'll change me, change the world I oversee. We move along an endless river of boxes. Time speeds up. My lungs burn, my arms shake. Sweat soaks through thin cloth. A mocking elbow to my shoulder. "This job ain't for princesses, Jack." The words flame me. My face forces a smile, brittle and fake. Embarrassment blooms hot. Then I glimpse Travis across the floor, supervisor, smirking. His eyes say, "You're nothing." I almost believe him. Then, a rough hand under my failing grip. The box steadies. I look up. It's Elias. His shoulders sink under years of strain, but his eyes, those eyes hold no mockery, no harsh judgment. Just strength, quiet, steady, like stone itself. He rescues the box. No words, no pity, only action. He returns to his work. The act lingers. It settles into my bones. I realize something. Dignity doesn't come from rank. It doesn't come wrapped in dirty cloth, stained dark. During the next break, his phone rings. A small voice. "Daddy, when are you coming home?" His tired face makes room for a smile, but his eyes, shimmering, betraying every sleepless night, every ache, tell me more. Daddy has to work a little longer. His voice trembles. In that moment, a man carrying his struggles silently, giving more than he gets, just so someone else, someone he loves, can dream. That image lodges itself in me like fire. Later, the line stops, a groan from the machine. Travis storms toward Elias. "You broke the machine, didn't you?" he demands. Elias looks up, surprised. "I followed the steps, I didn't—" "Shut your mouth!" Travis roars. The room falls quiet. Darren's voice whispers, "I saw it too. He messed up." No one speaks for Elias. Fear holds their tongues. Elias slumps. His shoulders collapse. The blame lands like a blow, but still he says nothing. Silence becomes his shield. Anger rises in me, a burn behind my ribs. My fists ball. I want to scream the truth, that Elias didn't fail, that this injustice stains the air. But I stay quiet. I'm still Jack, invisible. Yet inside me something shifts. This moment, Elias's dignity beneath disgrace can't be unseen. I stood frozen, rage boiling under my skin as I watched injustice etch itself into the face of a man too exhausted to defend himself. Elias bore the accusation in silence, but that silence roared in my ears, louder than any outcry ever could. It wasn't resignation I saw. It was resilience, so quiet it could be mistaken for defeat. But it wasn't. Later in the break room, the air turned thick with the scent of hot meals, fried chicken, rich gravies, vegetables steaming in oil. The laughter of full plates echoed by with his trademark smirk, glancing at Elias like the contents of that worn container proved something about worth. But Elias didn't shrink. He kept chewing, his dignity untouched by the sneer. That moment stayed with me. In the sea of noise and judgment, Elias became something more, a symbol of what it meant to carry on, unrecognized and unthanked, yet unwavering. The shift ended. Machines grew silent, the scent of oil and metal lingering in the air. As we walked out together, I turned to Elias and asked, "Aren't you tired?" He let out a dry, gravelly laugh, revealing teeth worn down by years of grit and grinding. "Of course I'm tired," he said, his voice carrying a weight no sleep could fix. "But I've learned how to live with it." There was something unsettling about his smile, thin, practiced, like it had been glued to his face for so long it became part of it. I pressed on. "Then why keep pushing? Why go beyond the hours they owe you?" He was quiet for a moment, footsteps slow and steady on the cracked pavement. Then he said, almost whispering, "My mother is sick. My daughter's still small. I can't stop sending money home." The air thickened between us. Those words weren't just facts, they were confessions carved from bone. But when he looked at me, his eyes didn't hold despair. They shone with something else, purpose, fire. And for the first time I saw it clearly. Elias wasn't just surviving. He was carrying an entire world on his back. I couldn't speak. Every word that came to mind felt small next to the life he was holding up. So I walked with him in silence, the sound of our footsteps fading into dusk. He wasn't just a man walking out of a factory. He was a foundation, tired shoulders braced against the collapse of a family far away. His struggle wasn't just about labor. It was about love. Fragile note was survival. It was love, distilled. Back on the line, the hum of the factory returned. Boxes slid down like clockwork. Then, like clockwork, came cruelty. Darren brushed his shoulder hard into Elias. A stack tumbled to the floor with a crash. Travis turned, already angry. "Elias again. You never learn." Before Elias could speak, Darren jumped in, voice dripping with false concern. "I saw it." He wasn't paying attention. Elias didn't argue. He bent down quietly and started to pick up the boxes. Not a single word in his defense, just the calm of someone used to being accused. Darren leaned close to me, whispering, "He's used to it. That's all he's good for." The blood rushed to my face. My fists clenched so hard I felt my nails cut skin. But Elias never flinched. His face remained calm, resigned, maybe, but not broken. He had learned long ago that raising your voice only invites louder blows. And in his silence I felt suffocated, choking on a cruelty that wasn't random. It was routine, a pattern, one that only ends when someone dares to break it. As the shift neared its end and the others left, I saw Elias still at work, wiping down machines. His sleeves rolled up. His hands stopped me cold. They were blackened with grease, calloused, cracked open, red at the seams. Thin trails of dried blood traced along his knuckles like a map of battles fought in silence. I asked before I could stop myself, "Doesn't it hurt?" He looked up with tired eyes and gave a small smile. "Of course it hurts. But these hands can't stop. If they stop, My mother doesn't get her medicine. I stood frozen, watching his fingers move, slow, deliberate, each movement etched with pain. Yet they didn't stop. Those hands weren't just tools. Peace. I asked gently, "Don't you eat dinner with your family?" He didn't look up, just smiled softly, eyes distant. "My family's far away. The money goes to them. For me, this is enough." There was no resentment, only acceptance. Yet it hit me like a punch to the ribs. This was the cost of love. He didn't eat alone by accident. He chose to, so they wouldn't have to. Each bite was a sacrifice, an act of quiet devotion, swallowed with his exhaustion. The car groaned as he turned the key, the engine coughing like a tired man gasping for breath. But Elias's eyes didn't waver. They held a calm I couldn't comprehend. I stood there, surrounded by abundance, and felt smaller than ever. A CEO with enough wealth to fill rooms, and yet beside him, I was the poorer man. Because Elias had something I'd long lost, the courage to give everything and expect nothing in return. His unfinished dinner said more about him than any speech ever could. In that dusty lot, beneath dim factory lights, I saw clearly. The richest man wasn't me. It was him. The next morning something felt different. The factory hummed, but Travis was nowhere to be seen. For once, the line moved with quiet focus. Beside Elias stood Marbell, her gray-streaked hair tied back, movements slow but certain. She leaned close, her voice low, firm. "If anyone deserves to be manager, it's you." Elias chuckled softly, as if the idea itself was absurd. "I don't need that. Just enough to keep my family safe." Marbell frowned. Her sigh carried decades of knowing better. "You deserve more, Elias. You've earned more than this." I stood a few steps away, pretending to sort boxes, but each word etched itself into my chest. She saw it. I saw it. Their lies, to scream that they had it backward, that the man they mocked was worth more than either of them could fathom. But I couldn't. Not yet. I was still Jack, the invisible worker, and so I stayed silent. And Elias? He endured, again. He took the insult like another box, added it to the pile and kept moving. But I watched, and every second I did, something inside me twisted. Because this wasn't just another insult. It was a cycle. A loop of cruelty Elias had lived in for years. And yet he stayed. That refusal to break shamed me more than Travis's shouting ever could. Later, as the machines dulled and we stood shoulder to shoulder, I asked him, "Elias, why don't you ever fight back?" He glanced at me, those eyes so worn they looked carved from stone. "Fight back for what?" he said. "To lose this job? I can't risk that. My family needs it." The answer hit harder than any scream. No bitterness, just survival. His silence wasn't surrender, it was protection. A wall he'd built brick by brick with patience, pain, and purpose. And as I looked at him, really looked, I understood something terrifying. Some people choose silence not because they're weak, but because the world gives them no other choice. But that silence? It wasn't empty. It was filled, with every insult swallowed, every false blame accepted, every humiliation endured. I couldn't speak, just nodded, heart heavy with something I couldn't name. He bent back to work as if our conversation never happened, but something in me changed, permanently. That night I sat alone. The factory's sounds still echoed, but it wasn't the machines I heard. It was Elias, his voice, his broken hands, his daughter's letters folded into his pocket. Every image haunted me. Him, standing silent as blame was thrown. Him, picking up grains of rice like they were gold. Him, poison, followed by laughter that slammed the door behind him. And just like that, we were alone. Two men left behind, one by choice, one by force. But only one of us would stay there. Not for long. One by one, the others drifted away, until only the low hum of aging machines and the quiet rasp of Elias's breathing filled the room. The air felt hollow, almost sacred in its emptiness. He remained, bent over the conveyor belt, his body trembling but still obeying the rhythm of labor. Sweat streamed down his temple. He wiped it with the back of his arm, smearing grease across skin already blackened by fatigue. Then, without pause, he returned to the boxes. No break, no plea for fairness, no rebellion. Just quiet surrender masked as perseverance. But to me, standing inches away, it wasn't perseverance anymore. It was punishment. A slow, invisible torture camouflaged as duty. And Elias, too loyal, too desperate to risk what little he had, carried it like it was his birthright. My teeth clenched. Rage simmered in my chest like a coiled spring, each second winding me tighter. I couldn't stop what was happening, not tonight. But every injustice, every unnoticed cruelty was sharpening me like a blade waiting to strike. Elias's exhaustion etched itself into me, carved a scar on my soul that would never fade. Time dragged its feet. The shift crawled forward, soaked in the clatter of boxes and the sound of human breath stretched too thin. Eventually, Elias slumped onto a crate, his body folding like wet paper. His chest rose and fell in sharp bursts. His skin shimmered with sweat, and his frame sagged as if gravity had turned vindictive. I approached him, my disguise faltering under the weight of concern. "You all right?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. He gave a thin, crooked smile, more pain than comfort. "He's holding us back." Travis swallowed the lie like it was gospel. His voice rose, echoing off the concrete walls. "Yeah, I've seen it too." "Elias, you're dragging this whole team down." The words hit the room like smoke, thick and suffocating. Elias froze, his hands suspended mid-motion. Then, as always, he lowered his gaze and resumed working. No defense, no fight, only silence. His oldest armor. But something inside me snapped. I stepped forward, the fire in my chest bursting free. "That's not true," I said, my voice rough with suppressed fury. "Elias works harder than anyone here." Travis turned slowly. His eyes found mine, glinting with cruel amusement. "You?" he scoffed. "You've been here 5 minutes. Don't act like you know a damn thing." Behind him, Darren's smile stretched, victory laced with venom. And just like that, the air shifted. The room folded in on itself. Silence became complicity. No one else spoke. No one defended him. Elias stood alone. Again. His head lowered, his shoulders squared as if bracing for another blow. He absorbed the insult like he absorbed labor, quietly, efficiently, with practiced sorrow. But it wasn't just the lie that hurt. It was the way it echoed, the way the truth bent and broke under repetition. Elias had learned long ago that in this place, the louder lie always won. I clenched my jaw until pain bloomed in my teeth. The sight of him, alone, accused, erased, stabbed through me. Because this wasn't just about exhaustion anymore. Now he was carrying loneliness too. Later, during a pause between shifts, he sat at the edge of a pallet, shoulders slumped. His voice, when it came, was so quiet I almost missed it beneath the machines. I still owe for my mother's hospital bills. Still, Travis barked, merciless. Get up. No breaks in the middle of shift. Elias groaned, palms flat on the cold floor, sweat pouring from him. His lips trembled. His skin had gone ghostly pale. But still, he pushed. He pressed against the ground as if failure wasn't an option, because for him, it wasn't. I rushed to him, grabbed his arm. You need to stop. Please. He looked at me and gave a laugh, dry, broken. I'm fine. I can keep going. But he wasn't fine. His legs shook, his eyes glazed. His will was dragging a broken body forward. And still, he stood. Around us, the others looked away, afraid to see themselves reflected in his collapse, afraid that if they looked too long, they'd see the cracks in their own masks. But I couldn't look away, not anymore. What I saw in Elias wasn't strength. It was something beyond strength, something cruel, something tragic. Necessity had carved him into something more than human, and somehow less. And still he chose to endure. That choice shattered something in me. Travis's voice sliced the room again. You're the reason this line's always behind. The accusation bounced from face to face. Darren stepped forward, the snake in full hiss. He's right. We're tired of carrying you, Elias. The insult slithered in, sharp and false. Elias didn't flinch. He just bowed his head. Again, another weight, another cut. He bore it the way he bore everything, quietly, efficiently, alone. But I couldn't take it anymore. Something in me tore. My fists curled, my chest thudded with fury, my throat filled with fire. And I knew right then this moment was the last time he would stand alone. He was being torn apart, right there in front of everyone, stripped of dignity, blamed without proof, turned into a scapegoat for job. It's the only thing keeping my family alive. No dramatics, no anger, just the truth. And that truth slammed into me with the weight of 1,000 speeches. I looked at him, at that smile trembling on the edges of his cracked lips. It wasn't hope that lived there. It was duty. And duty, I realized, was heavier than hope could ever be. That smile told the whole story. Not of a man broken, but of one choosing suffering over abandonment, who swallowed insults, hid bruises, and pushed through hunger, all for people who would never see the inside of that factory. My chest tightened. My eyes burned. I had met titans in boardrooms, visionaries in skyscrapers, warriors of ambition and ego. But sitting beside me was a man greater than any of them. Not because he conquered empires, but because he endured. For love. The next shift blurred forward. Then it happened. Darren's hand slipped. A tower of boxes came crashing down like a staged accident. And before the dust even settled, he pointed. Lee, you dropped it. Heads turned, and there Elias stood, close enough to make the lie stick. Travis didn't hesitate. I knew it. Always you, always slowing us down. Elias opened his mouth, panic flashing in his eyes. It wasn't. Shut your mouth, Travis barked, cutting him off mid-defense. The factory became a stage, and Elias the villain in a play written by cowards. Darren's smirk bloomed wider. Around us, workers pretended to stay busy, but I saw their eyes. They knew. They saw. And still they said nothing. My blood turned to fire, my vision blurred with rage. But Elias? He just lowered his head. His teeth clenched so tightly I swore I saw a drop of blood on his lip. Then, slowly, painfully, he bent to silence. The weight finally revealed itself. Not a weak man, but a strong one, at his limit. That night, back in the room where I slept, I sat alone. I couldn't forget the images burned into my brain. Elias's eyes, red, tired, but still carrying hope. The crust of stale bread he chewed like it was a feast. The letter, "I miss you, Dad," folded into his shirt pocket like treasure. The hands, scarred, bleeding, still reaching for the next box. And it all pressed into me, like stone. How many more nights would he sit alone like that? How many more times would silence be mistaken for submission? I felt it. Not just anger, something deeper. A tenderness so fierce it nearly crushed me. A man who gave everything and asked for nothing. And in that collision between fury and love, something unshakable formed inside me. I would not be silent anymore. I didn't know how the truth would come out, or what it would cost me. But I knew one thing. Elias's suffering would not go unseen. Not one more day. The next morning, the factory roared to life. Then the line hiccuped, slowed, and Travis, like clockwork, snapped. "Elias! You're the reason we're behind again." His words hit the air like a whip. Elias stiffened, hands frozen mid-motion. "I was only—" "Shut your mouth!" Travis stepped forward, finger stabbing the air like it could slice flesh. His face contorted with fury, not truth, not leadership, just rage for show. Behind him, Darren leaned back, grinning smugly. Cruelty doesn't hide when it thinks it has power. The room paused, heads turned, and Elias, he shrank, shoulders trembling, chest rising shallow. The silence of the others didn't protect him. It condemned him. I stood frozen, blood hot in my heart. My temples ached, my fists curled, nails carving crescents into my palms. Pain bloomed under my skin, anchoring me in the moment. The storm surged within me, heat, fury, something deeper than rage, compassion weaponized by injustice. I no longer saw the factory, the boxes, or even Travis's looming shadow. I saw Elias, bent but unbroken, silent but never defeated. And I knew this was the moment. The line inside me snapped. Enough. Enough of men like Travis towering while men like Elias withered. The factory held its breath. The air thickened until even silence began to crack under its weight. Then, I moved, and I spoke. That's enough. Not a shout, a statement, a strike of lightning in a quiet storm. Every head turned. The hum of machines blurred behind us. Even Travis stilled, brows arching in disbelief. His voice came sharp, acidic. Who do you think you are to stick your nose where it doesn't belong? I took a breath. Let the fire in my chest rise to my voice. I'm someone who still believes no man has the right to trample another. The room shifted. A ripple swept through the workers, like dry grass catching fire. It wasn't courage yet, but it wasn't fear either. Elias lifted his head. His eyes locked on mine. Confusion flickered, then disbelief. He didn't see Jack anymore. He saw something else, someone else. Travis sneered. You think you can teach me how to run my floor? He stepped closer. His boots hit the concrete like thunder. You're nothing. A newcomer. You'll be gone before the week's out. But the walls had already begun to crack. My hand moved. Slow. Deliberate. Another voice echoed, firmer. He carries us all, even when he's breaking. Voices poured forth. One by one, their silence shattered. Elias stood in the center of it, stunned. Finally seen. His voice came soft, shaking, raw. I only ever tried to do my job. The room hushed again. I never thought I deserved words like these. A single tear slid down his cheek. I just wanted to work. To provide for my mother, for my little girl. That was enough. His eyes scanned the faces. Fear clashed with wonder, and yet no one looked away. He had carried shame, and now he carried dignity. I turned to Travis. You are no longer fit to manage anyone. His knees nearly buckled. Please, give me another chance. I shook my head. Second chances are earned with respect. You showed none. He backed away, chased by the weight of eyes that once feared him, now judging him. Elias turned to me, voice soft, heavy with emotion. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't hesitate. I stepped forward and pulled him into an embrace, not as CEO, but as a man who had finally understood what leadership meant. Applause rose from the corners of the room, gentle, then rising. Elias trembled in my arms, and as I held him I felt every invisible scar he'd carried alone. Then I looked at the others. My voice carried across the stillness. Today, I saw what I should have seen long ago. Elias, the man you mocked, the man you ignored, is the measure of everything we should strive to be. The room stood silent, hanging on every word. From this day forward, he won't carry it alone. I placed my hand on his shoulder again. Your salary is doubled. Gasps broke, whispers rippled. And your mother's medical bills covered. Story moved you, share it. Not for views, not for fame, but because somewhere another Elias is waiting to be seen. So ask yourself this before you scroll away. Will you choose compassion or turn away like Travis?